to the care and maintenance portion of your 8-hour update for the 2021 school season. I'm Rob Hale, training coordinator here at the Transportation Department. Glad to be with you. I know this is a little different for us to be using video to do our updates, but with, of course, the COVID-19 restrictions that we have, this necessitates that we do something a little different. And having said that, currently we're still at this point, the recording, which is June the 10th. We don't know where we are for the coming school year yet, but I do know this: our training is still important, and we will continue to train and follow the guidelines as required by KDE and move forward with that and serve however best we can as Transportation Department. Now, I have several new items to bring to you this morning, and before we get into the care and maintenance section of our training, and I'll go over those, and then we'll do the care and maintenance. Some of this stuff you're going to hear on the other videos. That's because of its importance. So I encourage you to pay attention and listen to all the items listed. So we'll go ahead and get started on our update for the care and maintenance section. Of course, as you know, I handle all of your driver records, and very important, as I've said in the past, should we have, heaven forbid, an accident, the first thing that is required or that will be requested will be your driving records. So it's very important that we keep those up to date and accurate. We do hold those for you and keep those maintained. Our DOT physicals, which is part of that, we'll continue to do the program just as we have. I know that COVID-19 has extended some due dates, but fortunately we're able to continue with the physical program here at the office, and then also over at the Dog Patch location of DOT physicals. They're still in business, so we still are able to keep those up to date. So I want to encourage you not to rely on the extensions that the state is granting because of the coronavirus, but just to go ahead and take heed to the notices whenever I send those out to you through your reminds. Set your appointments up, whether it's through here or through Dog Patch. Those will cost you nothing. They're set up the same way. They will direct bill through me to central office. Of course, you still have the option to use the physician of your choice, and we'll reimburse you $69 or the actual cost, whichever is most, whether it's the reimbursement or up to $69, I should say, for your physical. So that's important that we continue to keep those up to date. They are updating them as normal in the system as well. Driver's license and self-certifications. I don't care a bit to enter your self-certification for you here. It just takes me about 5 minutes to go in and do that. So, and I try to do that prior, 3 or 4 weeks prior to your license actually expiring. Again, what we're experiencing, and I'm sure that if you've been through town, you've seen the lines at the clerk's office, it's going to take a little time to go and get your driver's license renewed. The state is extending those, but I encourage you to go ahead and get those renewed, especially in the summertime. If yours is getting close, if it's due in August, certainly July, go ahead and just get those renewed a little bit early, so that it won't be such a burden for you to go up and stand in the lines there at the clerk's office to get those done. And I'll do your self-certification. If you want to contact me and say, hey Rob, I'm going to go up a little early, and let me know, then that way I can go ahead and submit your self-certification before you get there, because they will not, you will not be able to renew your driver's license unless the self-certification is in. And you also have to have a valid physical as well before they'll let you renew the CDL portion of your license at any rate. DOT random drug testing. That's another area that we'll need to it's going to look a little different. There have been no revisions that I'm aware of yet as far as a requirement for the quarterly drug testing. So you can expect me to, if we're not in school in person delivering kids every morning, where you normally hear me call out your name on the radio and ask you to contact me. That was kind of everybody's cue to, oh no, I've got to go do the drug test. That may not be possible this time around, so I may have to call you personally or send you a text in order to do that, but we're still going to be required to do the DOT random drug testing to be compliant as far as those regulations. And having mentioned that, the CBD oil, I mentioned this last year, and the DOT has put out a statement. I've asked Marshall to add that to our handbook, and he has. And I'll just quickly go over what the statement says. So the Department of Transportation requires testing for marijuana and not CBD. The labeling of many CBD products may be misleading because the products could contain higher levels of THC than what the product label states. The Food and Drug Administration does not currently certify the levels of the THC in CBD products, so there is no federal oversight to ensure that the labels are accurate. The FDA has cautioned the public that consumers should be aware purchasing and using any CBD product. The FDA has stated it is currently illegal to market CBD by adding it to food or labeling it as a dietary supplement. Also, the FDA has issued several warning letters to companies because of their products contain more CBD than indicated on the product label. The Department of Transportation's Drug and Alcohol Testing Regulation, Part 40, does not authorize the use of Schedule I drugs, including marijuana, for any reason. Furthermore, CBD use is not a legitimate medical explanation for laboratory-confirmed marijuana positive results. Therefore, medical review officers will verify a drug test confirmed at the appropriate cutoffs as positive, even if an employee claims the only use is a CBD product. It remains unacceptable for any safety-sensitive employee subject to the Department of Transportation's drug testing regulations to use marijuana. Since the use of CBD products could lead to a positive drug test, Department of Transportation regulated safety-sensitive employees should exercise caution when considering whether to use CBD products. And basically what that's saying in a nutshell is you may be using CBD products, CBD oil in some form or fashion, and if it does show up on a random drug test, it's going to show up as marijuana, and according to that statement, they will use it, they will look at that just the same as if you were using marijuana as opposed to CBD. Now, what does that mean for you as a driver? Well, it's very plain and very simple. If you test positive for marijuana use, then you will be dismissed from your position. We have no recourse, there is no defense for that, and it is according to policy and the Department of Transportation rules. So I'm not saying to not use it just like that is, but just use caution and decide whether the benefits are worth the risk of the potential loss of your job. And that would be a bad thing if you were 10 or 15 years into your job and lose that and then miss out on your full retirement that way as well. So certainly this will be added into the handbook, so you can reference that and read that in full. You'll see that I just read the main part of the statement. So CBD oil products are very popular, I realize, and becoming more and more popular. They don't know if it is because of the strength that it may build up in the system over the use, prolonged use, daily use of it. It may build up in the system and then throw the positive test. I have checked with our drug testing facility, UPIC. They have had a case that the person claimed CBD oil was the only thing that they used, and they did test positive for marijuana. So I'm giving you the information, and it'll be up to you to decide how you want to use that information. Now, there are a couple of new items that we have that's from mandated by KDE this year as far as our driver training. Maybe not so new to us, because last year, and the first thing is CPR training. CPR training is now mandated for all bus drivers moving forward this year. Now, that does not mean certification. It means that it's going to be a training. We will be trained by certified personnel, very much like we did last year, and it's breathing, or no breathing, but only chest compressions is what they're going to be doing. So we can expect that moving forward. Now, it is going to be very important, because I have to be able to add to your record, your driving record, verification that you have had CPR training. And what we'll do, it will be very important that you complete all of the medical training video portion, or in person if we're allowed to do that, and make sure that your name is on the sign-off sheet for that training as well. Another new area of training that's mandated by KDE this year is called human trafficking, and that's going to be pretty simple for most that have a computer at home and have access to that computer. We're going to put the link to the website, make it available for you on our website, so that you can go to the, it's sponsored by Truckers Against Trafficking, and you'll go on. It's a 45-minute, I believe 45-minute video that you'll be required to watch, and then there'll be a little test afterwards. And after you take the test, then you'll be able to have a certificate emailed to you, and I will need those certificates in order to have proof to add to your file again about human trafficking. And it's really interesting. As I went through it, I've seen that the possibility, we don't think too much about human trafficking here in our community, rural community, but in fact it is something that can happen anywhere with any area in our country, as far as the kids are vulnerable and runaways. And as you know, we have several runaways from this area, and that is who it's targeting, is those that are vulnerable in that respect. With that having been said, you will see that we have a new radio code that we're adding. It will be a 404, and that will be the designation for a student abduction. And we've added that into the handbook, and you will be able to see the procedures for that. Lord willing, we never have to hear that code, but certainly there's always a possibility that when we are at a bus stop and we let a child off, that there could be someone come up and grab the child, and that's where we come into play by being able to tell the authorities where the stop was, the child's name, what the child was wearing, what the abductor was wearing, how the abductor left, whether they left on foot, whether there was a car available. If there was a car, of course, that general information, the make, model, color, any distinctive features, and if you can get a license plate number, that type of thing as well. So you will be seeing the addition of the 404 radio signal for a student abduction. I hope that we never have to use that, certainly. So that covers pretty much the newer items that we had to discuss today. And I want to move on now to another area that you will hopefully, I don't have to see you in this respect, but it's accident reporting. We're going to cover this. I think Pat Kruger will cover it in his section as well about emergency procedures. But since I'm the one that comes out and does the accident reports, I wanted to go over that with you as well. We had a pretty good year. We had less accidents last year than we did the year prior, so I'm pleased with that. Of course, I'm sure that's because of the fact that our time was shortened hauling kids and we drove less miles in the last semester of the year. But and even moving forward, if we end up doing something different as far as starting the school year off, other than hauling kids back and forth like we do every day, accident reporting will remain the same, because as we're out on the roads, whatever we're doing, even when we were delivering NTI packets and food, and if that's something that we do moving forward and we're involved in some type of accident, the reporting will be the same. And I'll just go over those steps with you real quick. Let me just first say, as soon as dispatch is notified, I'm notified, Todd's notified, and usually Mark is notified as well. And as soon as we have notification, then we'll be on our way out to you. So in the meantime, here's the steps that you need to follow. Of course, you need to secure your bus. And when I say secure your bus, that means if you're able, if the bus is drivable, to be able to lock it down where you are and not move it unless you're in a situation to where it is a danger to leave your bus where it is. Now, certainly if you're on Interstate 75 and there's some kind of accident that you're involved in, and the bus is able to be moved, we would not want you to leave the bus sitting in the middle of the roadway. We'd want you to get off onto a shoulder into a safe spot. Now, in the rural areas, usually it's safe to leave a bus right where it's at because the speeds are lower and the traffic count's lower, but certainly you want to secure your bus. And having said that, should in that process of the accident and checking the security of the bus, you will want to think about, and fortunately we haven't had to do this with any of our accidents recently, but there may be a need for you to evacuate the bus because it's a danger. Maybe there's a fire getting ready to happen because of the nature of the accident. So that's something to always be aware of. Of course, you want to, after securing your bus, you want to check for injured students, and go through. Do a quick walkthrough, ask each child. Of course, they're going to be shaken up, they're going to be scared. The smaller ones are going to be more scared than the bigger ones usually. And that's where you're going to be able to recruit the help of the older students to help with the younger students, because it's obviously a scary time. After you've secured your bus and you've checked for injuries, you call dispatch and give us the information. Need your name, your bus number, your location, that your bus has been involved in an accident, you have injuries or do not have injuries to any students or yourself, whatever the case may be. And after you do that, after you report that, there's a few things that you need to be doing in the meantime while you're waiting for me and our personnel here from the bus garage and the emergency personnel. Of course, the sheriff is always, or the city police, according to where the accident is, will always be dispatched to an accident scene. The first thing you'll need to do is set your triangles, the emergency triangles. Now, Pat has prepared an emergency triangle placement guide, and those will be available, and I may even see about getting those put into the triangle box. But what we need to do in order to reduce the hazard of maybe another accident happening is to get those triangles set up. Now, you're saying, how do we do that with kids on the bus? Well, unless you have no older students that you can trust, unless you have no older dependable students that you can say, watch these children, stand here at the top of the step well, and make sure that they're safe while I place these triangles. We're just talking about a couple of minutes for you to go down and retrieve those triangles out and put those in the proper places for the warning and safety of the bus. That's acceptable to do that. Now, if there are no older students, obviously we don't want you to leave those kids unattended and just forego the triangle placement, because we don't ever want to leave students unattended without a responsible party there. After that, you need to prepare a seating chart of the students where each child is sitting at the time of the accident. I need the name of the child. I need the grade of the child and what school they attend as well. And then go ahead and get your driver's license out. Reach up in the bulkhead and get the insurance and registration card. That will be required to have from the Sheriff's Department as well. And so get that roster and all your other information. Be prepared. After the accident scene is cleared, we're going to take you down and have a post-accident drug test done. And then you will also, I'll require that you write out a statement of the events describing the accident so that we can add that into the report as well. So everybody does a good job. Accidents are always a difficult time for us, and I continue to pray that we have less and less every year. I would love to go a year without an accident, love to go the rest of my time here without an accident, but we know that those will happen, and we'll just continue to hope that there are no injuries from those. All right, so that concludes the new section, the new items I wanted to cover with you, and now I'm going to look at the care and maintenance. Things are going to look different for us there as well. KDE is discussing the potential of adding hand sanitizer stations to every bus. They're working on locations and types and safety. So there's a possibility we may have those added as well. And then I'm sure on a lot of your minds is whether we will be required to wear masks. Again, we're waiting for guidance from local health departments and KDE to see if that will be necessary. Again, without knowing how the beginning of school year is going to look, if we're going to be hauling students going to class as regular, if we're going to be doing something that's a hybrid of that, alternate schedules. I'm sure that you are just like I am, have heard a lot of different rumors about what it's going to be. From the going back to school as regular, going to go to school on alternate days, going to be NTI days. As of this time, today's recording, June the 10th, we have no specific guidelines for what the beginning of school will look like. Hopefully, as the summer progresses, we'll get those guidelines, and then we'll be able to contact you about how the school year is going to look for the transportation department. So potentially hand sanitizer, potentially masks may be required, potentially reduced seating. We just really don't know, but I'm confident in our ability as a department to respond to whatever the conditions that are set before us. And we'll just adapt, and we will move forward. Now, regardless of what the new school year looks like, the most important thing that we do each and every day as bus drivers is our pre-trip inspections. They have to be done every day, and they have to be done before every route that you run. And you have to have one complete pre-trip inspection, and then it's okay to do the walk around at the other time. But we have to be checking the bus just like we were taught for our CDL license to do our pre-trip, and these things are important. They are important because they have to do with the safety of our employees and the safety of our students that we haul. And we have no way to identify deficiencies or anything that's wrong with the bus if they're not reported to our maintenance department. So be sure and do your pre-trips each and every day. Be sure to fill out your pre-trip form each and every day. Should you be pulled over, should you be involved in an accident, any particular day, your pre-trip information can be summoned in court. And if there's a failure on the bus, and it was found that you should have noted that on your pre-trip and you did not do a pre-trip that day, then your liability increases greatly. So fill those out. And I realize, I used to do it too, I understand. I realize that filling a pre-trip out and finding that deficiency means you've got to fill out another pre-trip form and start all over on that. That's a small price to pay for. It's a little bit of insurance, and it's a very cheap form of insurance. So do those pre-trips each and every day, twice a day, every time you get your morning and evening route. Report all of those deficiencies to Mark or whomever is in charge over at the shop. If Mark's gone, Chris or Noah usually is the next in line on that. So be sure that we are reporting those deficiencies so that we can get those repairs made as quickly as possible. Now, I realize that repairs mean sometimes we have a spare bus, and our fleet is getting newer, and Mark and them are doing a great job keeping the buses in good shape. So getting a spare today is not hardly as bad as it was getting a spare in 2010 when I started. We don't have buses anymore that are 20 years old that are loud and noisy. They're all hot, but our buses are getting better now. And here's the thing about spare buses. Our spare buses are only as good as what we as bus drivers keep them. And what I'm meaning is clean, full of fuel, and with the seats not tore all to pieces. Because I'm not concerned about the mechanical aspect of any of our buses. I believe our spares are just as dependable as the buses that we haul on kids on the routes each and every day. The big difference is, and I think you will agree, is spare buses, we oftentimes have the mentality that, oh, this is just a spare, I'm not going to worry about cleaning the garbage up in it today. And after that's been done with that attitude for 2 or 3 trips, 2 or 3 days, then you have a spare bus that looks like a hog pen inside, and then we dread getting that spare. But here's what we have to adopt as an attitude. We need to keep our spare buses as clean as we do our regular buses. Now, for some of you, that goes back to the hog pen. Some of you folks are a little bit lacking on your bus cleanliness, and I want to encourage you to keep your buses clean. You're going to start off with clean buses and keep them clean. It takes about 5 minutes to go through each day and pick up the big garbage items. And the way I used to do it is I would do that each day through the week, and on Friday I would take another 5 minutes, in other words about 10 minutes, and I would sweep my bus from back to front, and it stayed fairly clean. And I encourage you to do that, because I don't want, and I tried to imagine it this way, if I would want one of my children, or if I were a grandparent, my grandkids, or a niece or a nephew to ride a dirty bus, and I would expect it to be clean, and I would encourage you to adopt that same attitude. Also on your spare buses, refueling. If you're getting in a spare bus and you've got enough fuel sufficient to run your route, but it's below half a tank when you finish, fuel that bus back up. And if we keep them at a half a tank or above, then that reduces the possibility of having a road call because I ran out of fuel. Now, that's something else as far as our regular assigned buses. It's always been our policy here at the Transportation Department that half a tank was when you filled up, so that you never had below half a tank of fuel. Yes, it may mean an extra trip to you to the bus garage for during the course of the week, but when you weigh that out with the potential of having to wait an hour for us to get out to you, refuel your bus, and before we can refuel a bus, if you have students on it, the students have to be removed from the bus, and you have to move them to a safe place, because we're not allowed to fuel with students on board. Fueling the bus, get the kids loaded back on the bus. Hopefully the bus will start. It doesn't need to be reprimed. Certainly 15 or 20 minutes extra in the course of the week, I would rather trade that off than the potential for an hour or 2 hour delay waiting for a bus to be refueled and started back. So let's work on keeping our buses at half a tank, fuel them up, and keep them clean, and that as well as our spare buses. It's important that we take ownership of our buses, and most of you do. Most of you do a good job as far as keeping your buses clean, keeping them fueled up, communicating with the service department about what you're needing repaired on your bus, and that's a great job. Another thing that's going to probably look a little different, and I'm not sure because I haven't received any guidance from KDE on that, is our bus evacuation drills. We still need to be aware of those and be able to perform them if we're able to do that as well. And I have a video that we will use here in just a few minutes to close everything out with the Madison County school bus fire. And I know it's a couple years old, but it's always good for us to be reminded of the potential dangers and the importance of an evacuation. And if we keep ourselves familiar with the procedures and use that as a fundamental training tool, then in the event that we have to use that, then we'll be able to respond, and our children will be able to respond. Because here's the thing about it, each and every year we have new students that this is the first year they're riding the bus. They don't have a clue about a fire or an evacuation off of the school bus. And we always have that new group of students that need to be learning how to evacuate and what to do. And of course, as regular route drivers, you need to identify older kids that would be trustworthy and able to help you out in the event that we do have an evacuation that's off campus somewhere, on the side of a rural road, on the side of an interstate, whatever the case may be. And realize the importance that their role would be in helping you as the driver to maintain control over those students as well. So we will close out with that evacuation video. It's been my pleasure to sit here and share with you a little bit of this information, and just know that as we get information and get it verified, we will pass that along to you. I encourage you to continue, just go over it one more time. Keep your DOT physicals up to date. Feel free to contact me if I can help. Our nurse is going to be here throughout each month, as she has been. Really appreciate that. Dog Patch DOT physical location is available as well. Keep those driver's license renewed, and especially as the courthouses open back up, if you live in an outlying county other than Laurel County rather, just keep an eye on your courthouses whenever you're able to get those renewed as well. And hope you have a great rest of the summer, and I look forward to getting back where I can see everyone again. And certainly if you have any questions at all, feel free to give me a call. I'll help you in any way. Have a good day.